Ladies and gentlemen, good day to everyone. Actually, have you heard ever about the beautiful llamas, the relationship of the beautiful llama and Mr. Chamberlain, the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom? Or maybe about the relationship of the small aggressive monkey and the Chancellor of Germany in the 1930s? Or maybe the nice Australian officer with impressive muscles and the even most handsome kangaroo. So as we will see, these couples of photos were published in the Lilliput Pocket magazine, and I will talk about them shortly and about the editorial concept of it. But first, I will leave you now and let you just imagine the apt animal mate of me, as we all know that actually there is always an animal resembling to you. First of all, however, let me ask you another question. Actually, it was raised in myself when I saw the call for proposals of that conference. It was actually this one. Are the notions of center and periphery apt for understanding the transnational dissemination of press prints? In my presentation, I will follow these notions and these steps, actually, in my intro, and afterwards, I would like to talk about the press prints on the table in several sense. In his paper, Global Players, Emigres and Zeitgeist, Patrick Rösler intended to understand and to map the gradual spread of know-how on making picture magazines across boundaries in the interwar period. He underlined three elements of the process that I quote here. This is the emergence of these international-oriented publishing houses acting as global media players, the identification of similar needs among media target groups in societies which share a certain cultural background, and the mobility of individual media protagonists who, for different reasons, live and work in different societies and serve as multipliers for ideas. I think all of these are equally important. However, today I'm going to focus on the third. As a historian of photography and a curator of a photo collection in Hungary, I often face the fact how many Budapest-born photographers or picture agency managers or eager picture editors shaped the media industry all over the world. It is a rather simplistic approach to this over-representation of Hungarian immigrants, which highlights that their mother tongue was too hard to make foreigners understand them, so they needed a globally understandable visual language to use. It is very simplistic. Still, you can find this argument in several articles about them. Their reputation were established thanks to ambitions and talent as well, but also due to political and economic constraints and financial needs as well, as we will see. During their gradual immigration from Hungary via Berlin, Paris, or London to New York, they also could work in different societies with different publishing traditions and readerships, and they were able to use their excellent networks they built on the way. Gradual immigration in that case means moving step by step, sometimes even returning to the starting point and leaving again. Actually, in the case of Éva Fisli, Robert Capa, or Ratacando, we can see this sort of aller-retour. And also in the case of Stefan Laurent, I will talk about later. However, speaking of visual language, I think the variety of dialects and accents that these so-called globally players could have acquired and shared is also important. According to Rösler again, illustrated magazines with an outstanding and innovative design, which were created by media protagonists and art directors of the country, were recognized and adopted in other countries, and thus stimulated the emergence of a cross-national visual language. I agree with him on the importance of picture magazines in Weimar Republic, where actually many emigres from Eastern Europe, Hungarians included, found jobs before 1933. Here you just had some front covers of the fantastic illustrated magazines that were very popular and very important notes for creative stuff. Rösler also aimed at mapping the magazine influence between German and US publications, highlighting the continuities and discontinuities between Berlin or Munich-based periodicals and later American giants. You saw some of the examples here. It's quite impressive, actually. However, we shall also take into consideration the continental parallels of successful German products. For instance, Vue, the French weekly newspaper, was also an important note for visually creative people. Here in the second cover, actually, you can see also a photo by André Kertész, and on the fourth one, another portrait of a weird man with boomerang, who is a murderer, actually. It was played by the later Robert Capa. At the time, he was a model for a woman photographer. This is an important note, as I mentioned, and in her paper, Laura Truxa points out how the avant-garde inspirations were used, moderated, and sold by the important pioneer of photojournalism, Lucien Vogel, the editor-in-chief of the magazine. In her paper, Laura Truxa also wanted to understand how Vogel and Irène Lidova, a former pupil of Alexei Brodovich, shaped the face of the Vue and situated it, as I quote, at the heart of the international network consisting, on the one hand, the artists and typographers, linking it to the Union des Artistes Modernes, the Bauhaus, and the new typography. On the other hand, of innovative media companies, the Deberny and Peño Foundry, the Dorland Advertising Agency, and Condé Nast's publications, end of quotation. So the extending public and their needs, I quote Laura Truxa again, who remarked very aptly, neither a bourgeois journal nor a popular illustrated weekly, Vue signals the rise in France of the magazine format and of the middle-brow visual culture. Of course, several excellent works were published related to the layout design of the Vue as well. I just have some examples of how actually it was used in some fashion magazines also, and more even like fashion magazine as in American magazine like Harper's Bazaar, by Brodovich, and also with the collaboration of Martin Munkaci on the second case. But doing researches on the Parisian phase of André Kertész's life, I personally had to understand the role of Vue and its intellectual circle on his career. The practice of photo essay and the magazine layout design had a strong impact on him. And from this perspective, we can see that his later published photo books as works emerged from this visual background. Even if today we rather talk about him and other photographers as artists and appreciate or admire their works as unique artifacts or vintage prints according to preferences of the art market, at this time, photographers, Kertész included, belonged to a bustling machinery of picture agencies and art editors. Here is a kind of good visualization of the circle of photographers who worked for the Vue and this very important period. The individual photos and later the series of photos as well became raw materials in the hands of editors. And in the good case, they were used well. Here, I would like to talk about Stefan Laurent, the other Budapest-born editor, who was a founder editor of several and collaborator of several periodicals. Here, some of them that were published in Britain. The pocket magazine Lilliput, I just mentioned at the beginning with the llama. The Weekly Illustrated, and the successful picture Post. Here you can see himself at work in a very special issue where they wanted to show how the magazine was produced. Of course, he's working here with the press prints on the table. One of the most known editors of the era, and in his editorial practice, he worked with freelance photographers and agencies as well. He used the press prints in a very creative way. He, of course, liked juxtapositions also. But while his activity in Germany and London is well known, his short stay and work in Budapest between the autumn of 1933 and March 1934 is overlooked or less mentioned. During this short period, when he returned to Budapest, he edited actually a special annual for the Pesti Napló, and also he became the editor of the Sunday supplement of the newspaper from December 1933. Pesti Napló was at that time a quite important and popular magazine, so-called liberal magazine. We heard yesterday this label of that magazine. And this supplement that was also published from 25 was also a popular and a free supplement for the subscribers. Here you can see some editors in a special Jubilee album. Among them, up on the right, is Miklós Andor, who was the owner and also the editor-in-chief, and who died actually in December 1933 when Laurent got actually this kind of work of the picture editor. Here another montage about the art department of the Eslapok, Pesti Napló included, with excellent Hungarian photographers like Rudolf Balog or Károly Escher. And according to one of the captions, the department had 30,000 cliches that were ready for the use and for publishing. It was in 1930, so it was even more and more when the supplement was closed, was finished. Here you see some of the front covers, and we know that actually at the moment when Laurent started to work about the face of the facade of the journal, it changed the heading, and these are actually in the middle. You can see the first format of the headings, and later with the PN and the changed name instead of műmelléklet, it's melléklet, a little bit shorter and a little bit different. And also the format changed. In the case of this periodical, we can see that actually there are also many contacts and many press prints reused and republished that were bought from the giants like the Wide World Photos or the Keystone. But also there were several other agencies from all over the world, actually. At the beginning, it means in the 20s and also in the early 30s, there was a very slight overrepresentation of British or English agencies and photos, and also several publications about Great Britain. And it changed, of course, at the beginning of the 30s. And as for the Hungarian market, also it is very spectacular that the photo agencies sent their sales representatives until 41, and afterwards it's absolutely the German overrepresentation of press prints that is terribly clear and evident. Pesti Napló actually was the part of the Est publishing group, and you can also have some examples of the contrasts of the images. There were several photo essays published here, but also contrasts. I just chose two juxtapositions. One of them was published still during Laurent's stay, the other one is later. But these are rather contrast. New York or Pompeii from above, or the Pope's Garden, and also the tanks against strikers are quite strong political and serious contrast. In the hands of Laurent, however, later, this kind of juxtaposition became more satirical as they started to be published in the Lilliput Pocket magazine, which is a critical literary magazine. It's another kind of publication. At the same time, it remains still political, and with very, very few texts. You can imagine also the beautiful llama, because actually there was a collection of these juxtapositions that was published in 1940 by the Halton in London, and the title was this book, The Beautiful Llama and Chamberlain. So, here you go. In the last minutes of my presentation, let's talk about the press prints in the archive. As I mentioned you, they were giants that spanned over the world. And they were some smaller agencies. Sometimes they stamped the press prints, sometimes they had a special vignette of them. Here you have a collection of these. And of course, the sales representatives, the Hungarian representatives, were also on the spot. They also marked the press prints. If we start to unravel the threads, we can observe how the network of Hungarian emigres and newspapers or photographers and agencies covers the world. And even if they are on the other part of the world, they keep in touch. As for the local papers, so the Pesti Napló and the Sunday supplement of the Pesti Napló, of course there are many very average topics like American beauties, or what about the news, or sometimes social events or sport events. At the same time, there is a huge amount of photos about conflicts, and one of them is the most important of that period, is the Spanish Civil War. I've already written an article about it with more details now. I just wanted to show you some examples, some special examples, and to highlight two phenomena, actually. Here you see that one of the press prints that had all the traces of several manipulation and uses and marks and dates and etc. And also you can see how it was published in the Sunday supplement of Pesti Napló as a part of a montage, a special montage. This kind of work with cuts, retouches, or re-captions is very, very often at that time. Also, we can have another example of two press prints that were used and distributed by different photo agencies, one of them a German one, the Scherl, and the other one a French one, the Fulgur. They were also distributed in a different period and with different captions. At the same time, when we have them in our archives, we can see that, okay, the content can be the same, the photographer can be the same, but their itineraries are highly and very different. We are talking about two objects, actually. And as I wanted also to point out, actually, the conflicts always and the war always is a decisive topic, a very hard and decisive topic. There are also very shared readerships again, according to their own political background and views. And these are just two examples of recontextualizations of the press prints, the same press prints, with two different periodical, with two different captions and adjectives, which are very important for the readers, of course. In conclusion, this extremely rich archive that was saved by an unknown person or by unknown persons, we don't know, in post-war Hungary, and taken to the former Institute of Workers movement in the end of the 1940s. After several institutional and political changes, it was taken to the former Museum of Workers movement, from the 1990s, it has been part of the historical photo collection at the Hungarian National Museum, where I come from. We know, actually, if we study these press prints, how the network of commercial and personal contacts formed also the way the newspapers were provided with photographs. But in this light, the photojournalists themselves are part of the machinery and this media industry, even if their later work is usually labeled and displayed as fruit of an always autonomous and conscious creative career, always. This machinery of media industry and the transnational network of the protagonist is often mentioned at the level of just sparkling anecdotes, but its details are rather overlooked. The challenging task to me as a curator is to understand the shaping and the operation of the professional network in order to see the fine contacts of which it was built. Today, in our photo collection, we also have press prints on the table. Just remember the beautiful Lama and Mr. Chamberlain, because I would like to use the metaphor of juxtapositions. On the one hand, we see press prints as visual products marked by the logic of permanent race and the insatiable needs of the news market on the way of globalization. On the other hand, they can be seen as important sources of photographic history as well as of history of periodicals. Most of the time, they were cut, retouched, re-captioned, reused, recontextualized. Still, they are marked by several uses of agencies, editors, and tell us about different itineraries of the object themselves, from newspapers, art departments, to museums' historical departments. If press prints are on the table, can we tie them in terms of collaboration, co-authorship, cultural exchange, and ways of transfer too? Let's try. Thank you for your attention.